Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Ice Project. Today we're talking all things mushies. Roll the intro. Julian Mitchell, king of the mushrooms from Byron. What's up, bro?
Nice, bro. It's good to be here. We've been trying to line this up for a few months and COVID and different things, but we're here now. We get to chat mushrooms.
Yeah, so everyone who sort of follows me, I've been doing this sort of morning routine and life cycle. This product right here is something I've been taking for a long time, and a lot of people have been asking about it. A lot of people are very skeptical about mushrooms, which we'll touch on later, but I can't really explain it, but it does make me feel fucking good, and I sleep a lot better off the back of it. So I'm glad you're here to explain it.
Yeah, we can unpack the science of mushrooms.
It's exciting. So, do you want to explain who you are, what you do, and where you come from?
Sure. Grew up in WA very quickly. Background in physio and elite sport. Worked in the Premier League. Enjoyed that sort of environment of elite sport, and then I guess from there just pivoted and moved out into business and entrepreneurship and into mushrooms because there was a lot of synergies with high performance. From a natural point of view, and when I was working in the Premier League as a physio, obviously the athletes were all moving towards natural supplementation, natural products that improve performance without the lag. And so mushrooms was like, when we were doing our research, Ryan and I, my business partner and good friend, were just like looking at the research of mushrooms, and it's like, how is there no products in this space? And at that time, 5 years ago, CBD was starting to pop and get out there. And of course, in Australia, it's still sort of held back and still very early, but in America, it's obviously boomed and it's very much involved in UFC, high level sports, or, NFL, all of these sports, CBD oil is being used, and it has great benefits, and mushrooms have other synergies, and so that's where we sort of dived into mushrooms because no one was doing much in that space.
So obviously then I'm a stereotypical guy. Only times I use mushrooms is kind of an omelette or mushroom sauce, or like just when you buy them from. How many mushrooms are there in the world?
Yeah, or if you're in Thailand or something. Maybe.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
No, but that's what we sort of get associated with. It's like, oh, are these magic mushrooms, or when we started, we were just doing gourmet mushrooms, edible mushrooms.
What's a gourmet mushroom?
Like a shiitake or an oyster. So you got your button mushrooms, which is your stock standard Woolies Coles mushrooms, or your field mushrooms, and you got your shiitakes and your oysters, which are probably a little level up in terms of flavor and profile and cost. So we were just mushroom farmers at the start. That's what we were doing. We were just like, we had sea containers in WA in Perth, and we were just growing mushrooms out of these sea containers, delivering them to high-end restaurants, and then we sort of like, pivoted or moved into looking at other mushrooms. So like you said, there's like 3 million varieties of mushrooms. So if you think of the cannabis plant as an example, there's a couple of different strains. Within mushrooms, there's 3 million varieties, and so there's ones that are delicious for eating. There's some that are poisonous. There's some that are medicinal in their benefits. There's some that are have other benefits for psychedelic. So there's all different varieties in that 3 million, and we are only as a species, as a human, we only know 10%. So we really don't know a lot about mushrooms first and foremost, but we know that they have amazing compounds and benefits, and there is a small, very, very small amount that are poisonous, but for the most part they're very beneficial for humanity and for animals.
Growing up as a kid, you saw a mushroom, they're like, parents like, don't eat it, it's poisonous. Is that common? Did everyone grow up like that, or was that just me? Or
that
what?
is the stigma. There's a huge stigma through history of like mushrooms are poisonous, stay away from them, and it's just within the world of science. A lot of scientists and biologists, they never really studied fungi. So mushrooms fit under the fungi kingdom, and so fungi, it's undiscovered. It's its own kingdom. So you've got the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, you've got the fungi kingdom, the mushroom kingdom. So within that, there's a lot there. A lot of people don't know a lot about it. It's becoming very fashionable now with performance, with athletes in America. There's a heap of research happening with NFL players, with NHL players around concussion, around injuries, around brain trauma, and the use of mushrooms and the use of the psychedelic mushroom, inverted commas, the magic mushroom, for research. And so you've got Harvard, Stanford, all these universities legitimizing this. But before that, you had the 60s and 70s movement of the psychedelic wave, and that was because that occurred, it obviously promoted it, but it also got a lot of bad PR, like it's negative. Mushrooms will make you do crazy things. Mushrooms will make you crazy, etc. That's where I'm talking about the psychedelic mushroom, so which is completely different to what we specialize in. We specialize in functional mushrooms, which are sold over the counter, 100%, no issues in terms of the regulatory pieces and have different, properties to them. That's where we focus.
Why has the fungi kingdom been overlooked?
I think that's a very good question, and I think parts of it is just naivety, not knowing how much is there and what greatness is there within them in terms of from a scientific point of view. And I think also, I mean, if we look at a lot of mushrooms, there are a lot of the compounds are within pharmaceutical medications. So penicillin, as an example, comes from mushrooms, comes from fungi kingdom. Penicillin has saved tens of millions of lives as an antibiotic. So penicillin was, created in between World War I and World War II and saved a lot of soldiers' lives. So, there's a lot of use of mushrooms. If you go to Mexico and the Aztecs and the Mayans, and even in Greek history and philosophy, there's a lot of artwork with mushrooms. You go to China, you see it all through the temples. You see the reishi mushroom, as known as the mushroom of immortality. And so this has been used within emperors for thousands of years. So it dates back a lot, but within the last, say, 50, 60 years, it's been branded as one, they're poisonous, two, or, they're for, the hippies or for psychedelic trips. And now very, very recently, it's hit the mainstream of Western culture, that it has health benefits, that it's, functional, and that it can be incorporated into your, biohacking lifestyle, which means just getting the most out of your day and out of yourself through what you put in your body.
And why has it got to that point now? Has people had enough of the types of medicine that they've been fed, like all the pharmaceuticals type stuff? Are they just looking for alternatives, or why is it coming back up to?
It is part of our evolution, and just look like, one, being dissatisfied with current ways of being and looking for health options. And I think that goes from everything, when we look at our parents and our grandparents, and they probably ate a lot more natural food. There was more local farms, there was more local produce, and now it's like more pesticides, more GMO crops, more nasties. And so on top of that, it's like, also if you look at like from a performance point of view, it's been like a lot of capsules, a lot of like powders that are like, got all types of ingredients that you can't pronounce. And so now it's just like, okay, well how do I look back at the ingredient list? Like, can I understand what's on there and where does that come from? And going back to nature, less synthetic properties, more organic. There's just a lot of, wisdom there, and that's where we were hundreds of years ago. And so we're sort of just gone full circle on that, getting away from the synthetic stuff.
So you kind of just sort of brushed over how you got into it. A physio and the EPL, that's fucking pretty cool. What was that like?
That was a mad experience because I was just straight out of uni, and that was my sort of goal, was to be in elite sport. If I'm going to do it, let's do it properly. And so EPL was like probably one of the biggest leagues in the world in terms of just like, world stage of athletes. And it's just, if you're playing in the EPL as a football player, as a soccer player, you're the 1% of the 1%. Every kid from Brazil, Spain, Italy wants to play in that league, wants to be a name in that league. So that was amazing to be around those personalities and learn from those personalities on how they operated, how they thought.
What was the biggest thing you learned? Self-belief.
100%. It was self-belief. Those boys that were playing there were like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to put it in the top corner, and just nothing's going to get in that way. And that was what got them there, I think, amongst so much competition as a kid when you're 15 in England and there's like so many kids wanting to play. It was self-belief, and that there's, the sort of burn the boats mentality of like, there's no second option. This is what's going to happen. So that was inspiring to see. So
you kind of hit your dream job straight away. Why did you want to change?
Because I realised it wasn't my dream job. So I had like a mini crisis, in my early 20s, where I'm like, fuck, this is what I thought I wanted to do. Now I don't want to do it. And it looks great from the outside, because I was like on Sky Sports, and everyone, my friends in Australia, like, oh, I saw you on Sky Sports and you're playing Man City and you're at Man United Old Trafford Stadium and you're going to Liverpool, and you're amongst all of that. And so from the outside I was like, fuck yeah, that looks amazing. And it was fun and it was interesting, and obviously went to some, pretty crazy party environments in London and things, as well as like the professionalism of the sport. So it was like, it's everything you want, is it, when you're in your early 20s as a young guy coming from Australia. So it was good to taste that. It wasn't bad. It was fun, but I didn't see the longevity in it from a passion point of view, to be on the road every weekend, away every weekend. You're in Europe, you're in wherever you're playing. It's like, I enjoyed my own time and my own freedom.
You talked about balance a little bit off air. I've heard you talk about it on other podcasts before. Your balance in your lifestyle right now is pretty cool. You got a place called The Temple up in Byron Bay. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's just it was sort of pre-COVID because I was looking to set up in LA and live in LA with the business and focus on that. And then COVID hit, so I was like, okay, come back to Byron, and obviously everything shut down. It's like you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you can't socialize. So it's like, okay, well, how do we still be in our flow and have fun and be productive? And it's like, well, let's just, with some friends, get a place in the Byron hinterland. It's on a good amount of acreage, like 130 acres, plenty of space there for to have people over and to do things and to create a creative hub. So I was there with some great friends, Cooper, a pro surfer, Alex, a YouTuber content creator, a bit of a thrill seeker, Matey Laycock, same.
He's an interesting dude, isn't he?
He's a thrill seeker. He's on Ninja Warrior. He's always jumping out of planes and doing crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Dylan.
The first time Dill as well. But first time we met him, he goes, "Oh, we'll get you jumping out of a plane on your own in no time." I was like, "No, fuck, I'm good, bro. I'm good on the ground."
He's pushing what you believe to be real and true, which is good. So you have people in your circle doing that. So it was a great time for fun, given it was a COVID environment. We feel very blessed that we were able to still move the needle forward from an individual personal growth point of view, fitness point of view, and business point of view, while everything was so uncertain. So very, very lucky about that. And we just had fun and just trying to create our own little situation where we could help create an environment where we're helping each other.
It's kind of like an entrepreneur / content house collab. It's cool. I really like it. I've obviously never checked it out, but I can't wait to come see it.
Come along, yeah. And we've got the ice bath there, the sauna there, we're fasting, it's all of that, but still having fun and just messing around, having burgers and chilling and just playing pranks on each other. What
made you want to become a mushroom farmer from EPL Physio? That's a bit of a random transition, isn't it?
The mushrooms chose me. No, it was really just around, I guess, coordinating a few things when it comes to. I read a very important book, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel.
Great book, yeah.
Great book, so 0 to 1 meaning how do you make your first million, and that's sort of the hardest part of any business, or making your first sale, or making your first 1,000, or your first 100,000, whatever it is. It's that's the hardest piece. You get momentum and you get learnings from that. And so his philosophy was starting with the end in mind of okay, within business, you need to have something that makes you very different to other people, obviously. You need to think where the future's going and be there ahead of time. So this was 5 years ago. I'm getting into mushrooms from the Premier League. So it sounds crazy now. It sounded crazier 5 years ago when it's you left the Premier League of England and sport and to go and grow mushrooms and sell mushrooms. It's that's crazy. And so it was me and Ryan both betting that mushrooms were going to be popular in the future.
What was that, a calculated guess, or was it just
It was seeing CBD, seeing a lot of the synthetic burger companies and the movement towards natural product, and natural supplementation and natural performance benefits, and there's no competition there, which is important, and having enough time to build something that's defensible in Peter Thiel's eyes, which defensible means hard to replicate. Because when you're in business now, you have the quickening, within you have an idea, within 6 months there's 3 popping up next to it, close to
the frozen yogurt vibe.
Yeah. So unfortunately people aren't that innovative and creative in some ways, and they just go, oh, that's a good idea, I can do that, I want to do that. So, and then all of a sudden you got 10 dudes in your market. And we see that now anyways with mushrooms, but it's okay because we've, I guess, what we believe has created a huge gap in terms of quality of product because of the science. So you asked before, what is biotechnology? And it's I didn't know what biotechnology was 5 years ago either, because we are a mushroom biotechnology company, meaning we do it all ourselves. And so in the back end, we're farming it, we're extracting it. If you imagine a brewery where we've got people in white lab coats, scientists, we've got an amazing science team, 12 full-time scientists.
So you've actually got this, yeah. Oh, cool.
So we've got a site in America near Green Bay. So, people would know the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
So that's the church of Green Bay. It's in the middle of the city, and it's just everything stops on Sunday for the NFL. But so we have a farm there and a facility there where we grow and extract, and everyone's wearing white lab coats and they're producing the product. And we've got patents on what we do, so we do things that no one else is really doing in the mushroom space. So going back to why we got into mushrooms, it was we can innovate in this space, we can lead in this space. We're passionate about this space. We know a lot about performance, and I could see a clear market where people wanted natural products.
A little bit off topic, but psychedelic mushrooms. I've had some in Bali. Not going to hide the fact that it's got to be some benefits to that type of mushroom. Obviously, you can abuse it like anything in life. What are the benefits to stuff like that?
Did you think you had any benefits?
I think I had too much, bro. I'll tell you, I was at a festival and I've wigged out and I was sitting in the Portaloo toilet and I was just sitting there. I was going, "Fuck, this is trippy." It kind of scared me.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the things that happens, which is a disservice for people who have them. Most people's experience has been in Indonesia and they've been probably drinking at the same time.
Yeah, good point.
Versus like where it's getting to now in North America, especially, is like it's happening under the supervision of a psychologist or a psychotherapist. It's in a room that scene and setting is very important, and your intention when you're on it and your mindset when you're on it. And so that's sort of where it's getting to from a legalization point of view. It's like this is therapeutic because this has been therapeutic for shamans and people through Mexico and South American cultures for hundreds of years, thousands of years. And so it's like this is a therapy session actually, or it can be a therapy session when you take it. So when you're taking it, understand like therapy, if you go and do that, like the psychologist or whoever you're talking to may start digging up things that like, are uncomfortable to talk about, uncomfortable to think about.
Unpacking boxes.
Unpacking, but that's gross.
Yeah.
That's learning. That's getting to the other, like getting to a higher version of yourself. Doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable necessarily. And so I guess when people go in unknowingly, what is this? And it's like, it's a fun thing. For sure, you may just have a fun, amazing time and see beautiful, palm trees waving in the air and like the sunset or sunrise, or, you may be at a festival. That can happen, but it can be a flip of the coin. It could be a terrible situation as well. And so where it's getting to is, okay, this is therapeutic as well. And, in North America there, you've got ketamine clinics, MDMA clinics, psilocybin, which is the magic mushroom clinics about to roll out, because they all have a level of therapeutic benefits, meaning unpacking your mind, unpacking trauma. If you've got PTSD, maybe from a near-death experience in a car crash, maybe from a soldier going to war, maybe from losing a friend, like that's all levels of PTSD that happen that like sit within you, that make you feel uncomfortable, that get you out of your flow. And it's like current medications are not helping people get through that, or current systems and models are not helping people get through that. And we can see that because that's a reflection of how much depression is in the world, how much suicide within young males is in the world, especially in Australia. It's a complete disaster. And it's like, how do you measure a healthy society? How many people are happy? Like, even if you want to give your life up, and I've had people commit suicide, like friends close to me, and it's like, what a bad situation to be in to want to end your life. And so can mushrooms help with that treatment in mental health? 100% it can, and it's showing that it can. So that's one element of it. Of course, within places like the west coast of California and Silicon Valley, IBMs, Apples, these companies have been, since Steve Jobs, microdosing, inverted commas, for mental benefits, cognitive benefits. And so the benefits that they see under an MRI when you take the magic mushroom is that your brain activity increases and the connectivity increases, meaning it starts talking to each other more. Versus right now, our brain's probably running at like 15 to 22% of capacity.
Wow.
So mate, you've got so much more capacity there.
It's like that Limitless movie,
Like
if we've got that pill there.
Like that, exactly.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Exactly.
So don't take psychedelic mushrooms at an ultra festival while you're listening to Marshmallow after a 2-week bender.
I mean, some people would chat to say, fuck, I had the best time ever. Yeah. And others go, I'm not doing that again ever. And so it's like, fuck, you got the best marketing and the worst marketing.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the magic mushroom. And so some people that's just the reality of the situation. So there needs to be more education on that, I guess. But understanding that, it can be like going into therapy, and you may see things or hear things that you don't want to hear or talk about is where it's up to. So
I've obviously gone to Nail and Scale It from Curran Ray. I've attended that course, and he talks about his post-traumatic stress disorder, and he got it healed through MDMA and therapy off the back of it, obviously not within this country, and he done it all legally, but it's an interesting thing to hear about, isn't it?
It's just it's really, we're on the edges of it, and it's new, and it's, I think in Australia it's still a long way off.
Yeah.
Because, we're still sort of on the edges of like CBD oil and where that's up to. Whereas in the US it's been legal for, the last 5 years or 3 years. And so Australia's always sort of lagging behind, which is not necessarily a negative thing. Let other guys try it first and see how it goes, and we'll wait and see. But at the same time, when mental health is such an issue, when depression is such an issue, suicide, PTSD, people are struggling, even more so now with COVID. People are really struggling. And so, like, how can we help our fellow, people, brothers, sisters, who are struggling.
I've tried. Actually, I'll start on this ketamine. So that's I see that sort of floating about in the party scene. Like people starting to talk about it now, and like that's horse tranquilizer, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm a mushroom guy. So
Oh, okay. All right, we'll stay away from ketamine, man.
But I do know that there's like in Canada, there's a Ketamine Clinic,
Yeah.
and I think it was one in the US. So it's just starting. So there's one clinic now, and it's very much similar to the CBD movement, where there's been a lot of research. Okay, there's, it's without, I guess, argument that there's benefits to this, and then the research then goes into products and marketing and brands, and then legalization, and so that's sort of where those things are going. Where will it get to? I think you'll just have, it's just a new wave of medicine. To be honest, it's like, okay, current tools for the doctors, for the psychologists, for the psychiatrists are not working as well. We need more tools to help people because we can't do as much benefit as we want. So that's sort of where it's up to with those. But yeah, from our point of view, something we are aware of in North America, but it's not our direct business. And it's not what we're focusing on. We're just focusing on growing the best mushrooms, creating the highest level of extraction we can, filing patents, meaning things that we learn and that other people can't do or haven't done, and then just growing the brand. So, and going on that journey, which is plenty of work for us to do there.
So before I come across your product, I was actually trying like CBD oil. Enjoyed it. Like, kind of felt a little bit laggy the next day. I don't know if I was taking too much. Actually got a bad experience on CBD. Edibles as well. Went to a Joe Rogan thing and ended up taking some edibles, had too much and almost had an anxiety attack. I kind of think I'm starting to be the problem here. But difference between CBD oil and your product is like, I didn't really feel that lag the next day. I used to wear a Whoop watch as well. After back in that, I measured my REM sleep. It was like 2.5 hours, which I've never really had before. What's the difference between CBD oil and what you guys do over here?
Yeah, we had a YouTuber. It's funny, like YouTubers and content creators and things, and just random customers go and like do an analysis. Yeah, and she did an analysis with an Oura ring in the US, and so she compared CBD because she heard us on Dave Asprey and heard us on Joe Rogan and heard us on Dr. G, who's a medical doctor in LA. And really like just comparing the two, and what she found was with the Oura ring, which is like the Whoop in terms of tracking sleep, that the CBD helped with deep sleep for her, and the lion's mane helped with the REM sleep. So the REM sleep is an important phase of sleep where you're consolidating short-term memory to long-term memory. So it's helping with memory recall when you're in good REM sleep. It's helping with dreaming as well. So you're doing more dreaming. I don't know if you've noticed that, like if you've been dreaming more when you're taking, the mushrooms or when you're not. But that's an important part of brain consolidation, brain regeneration. And
so you want to be dreaming when you're sleeping?
It's helpful too. You don't have to do it every night, but it's a good sign of getting into REM sleep. It's the quickest sign to know if you had dreamt that night, you had some good REM sleep. It's sort of a subjective thing. And then also like, with elite athletes like, Usman or Cody Garbrandt or, UFC fighters that we work with in the US, they've noticed it from a brain health point of view, because even in a training session, they'll be foggy after a training session because they've been sparring and they've copped a few knocks to the head. And so, you're getting a bit of, I guess, brain inflammation. And so those guys have really noticed the lion's mane for improving sleep and for just improving memory recall, focus, concentration.
That must be in a great marketing campaign. I see that all the time, the Rogan one. Imagine, like, did you get the Rogan? They call it like the Rogan bump. So obviously you're repurposing that type of content and putting ad spend behind it. Was there a massive lift in that?
We were going well because we were on Impact Theory as well early, like that year, which was like early last year. We were on, Dave Asprey was talking on Impact Theory, which is Tom Bilyeu, which is a massive podcast as well. And we're like, shit, that was nice, out of nowhere. And then, wake up, I remember with Dylan. Dylan's like, oh, and you see the Joe Rogan stuff this morning. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, because Dylan works in the marketing team, and it's like, oh, we didn't see that organized. We didn't organize anything. It was completely organic. And so to have Joe Rogan and Rashad Evans, who's UFC Hall of Famer, who was using our product, talk about it, in the podcast was mental.
So he talks about, is it the kakadu? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that?
So that's I guess the easiest way, a bush food. Australian bush food from Arnhem Land, very high vitamin C content, still a wild harvested bush food, meaning it's not cultivated on a farm, it's, wild harvested, and you have, women, Indigenous communities out there as a part of, I guess their economy and sustainability, harvesting this kakadu plum, which has now become very popular because of its vitamin C content, of course, very popular because Joe Rogan mentioned it.
Yeah.
But it is an amazing superfood. So within Australia, we have these. You hear of different superfoods from around the world, but Australia, in terms of the bush foods that we have here, they are amazing in terms of the benefits that they have. And so kakadu plum for vitamin C content, and we just know vitamin C in terms of immune system, in terms of health, in terms of a healthy body. Vitamin C is very important, and so this is probably one of the most pure and most potent forms of vitamin C on the planet. That's natural. It's not a vitamin C powder that's made up in a lab. It's like from a bush fruit growing out in Arnhem Land.
How does it measure up against something like historically an orange?
Against the blueberry, it's like it's the vitamin C of 100 oranges.
What that? Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of oranges.
It's a lot of oranges. So it's so, even at half time you can't get 100 oranges in.
All right, we'll dig into some of these products, and like I said, you gifted me my very first biohackers pack, and I've been a customer ever since. When I get people onto my podcast, I actually gift them this as well, so I send it to them as well. So I'm a fan of this. So John, we'll talk about a couple of the things in here. Cordyceps.
Cordyceps, so famous mushroom, really discovered in the Olympics after you had a couple of Chinese runners win the 10,000 meter race, and they
How long ago?
It was 16 years ago.
Oh, crazy! Yeah.
So they've been starting to bubble. Now they really like the Joe Rogan bump, the Tim Ferriss bump, the Dave Asprey bump. The movement in psychedelics in North America, and the huge amount of money and investment from bankers and people into that space means that it's sort of really hockey sticking, really J curving in terms of its popularity, and it's not a fad either. It's not going to come and go because of the true science and the true benefits that they possess. So the cordyceps mushroom, endurance in terms of athletic performance over a long period of time. With the caffeine and coffee, you get this a caffeine bump. It's just peak trough, a couple of hours, you get a little buzz. For the cordyceps, it's more a 4 to 6 hour flow, and so in endurance athletes, it's been very popular, and that's where it's been really kicking off. But then beyond that, if you're trying to get off of caffeine and you're just trying to, rest your adrenals, not interrupt your sleep, you've had too much coffee and you're feeling that lag and that dependency on it, the cordyceps has been very popular in that space for those reasons, and that's sort of reflective of the research. And
I've sort of noticed that when I've had it as well, it's not like, and a lot of people associate everything back to caffeine because we're so addicted to it. It's like you don't get that initial thing take off as well, but then you actually get adapted to that when you have too much coffee anyway. But over time, over the day, you just feel like a lot more focused and a lot more, you don't really get that 3:30 itis where you're not too laggy in the 100%. Afternoon, which is an important part as well.
People can get jittery from coffee, and people can get you get energy, but you don't get focus. Yeah. You're like, I'm excited to do all this work, but I can't sit down properly.
Can't do it.
So that's the cordyceps. So we've got pro surfers, UFC fighters, other athletes using that mushroom for training purposes, and just if people, everyday people wanting getting off caffeine and things, that's sort of what seemed to be working. Reishi is a mushroom known as the mushroom of immortality in traditional Chinese medicine. It was given as a gift, to China,
that's what
Chinese
I'm doing,
royalty.
Gifts, yeah.
So it's a royal thing. It's in all the temples in China. There's this artwork of it. So it's deeply embedded in the culture there. It's deeply embedded in Eastern culture, and now making its way to Western science in terms of immune system, immunomodulatory benefits. So meaning it's very adaptive. So if you're feeling run down, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's very good, and it's very good at just calming down the nervous system. So
we take it at night time, don't
exactly,
we?
Exactly. People take it just to sort of in their evening tea, and it's just it helps them wind down with the tea.
I've found that I used to be not insomniac, but I used to struggle to go to sleep any time before 11, 12, 1. I don't know if that was all in my own mind, but
in business,
thinking, bro,
being able to turn off.
Yeah, and that's hard. And I'm in bed by 8:39 right now, and sort of bouncing around. Lion's Mane, this is one of your most popular, isn't it?
This is probably the first one that people try and whoa, is this real? Is this because it's so early in the piece that you're sort of noticing the lion's mane, the focus, the flow, the memory recall, the creative flow process. If you're a creative, if you're an artist, a musician, whatever, you're just sort of finding yourself getting into those flow states where you can connect things that you didn't normally connect. And from an athletic performance point of view, Owen Wright, who we have worked with, and he was taking out product long before we sort of even knew it. He had a brain injury and a concussion, and so he noticed it really dramatically helped his sleep and his brain to recuperate from that injury, that concussion. So that was interesting.
Wait, quick question. Is that the name of the mushroom or did you make that up? Or
Exactly, yeah, that's the name of the mushroom. If
that's
you
a cool
look at
name,
everyone wants that lion vibe.
Yeah.
You know? Everyone wants that lion. Everyone wants to be a lion, you know. It's sort of that Eric Thomas sort of thing.
Yeah.
But so the lion is exactly that. It's like focus, mental clarity, creative flow, memory recall, and that's all attached to the science, which is around, improvement of the nerve cells within your brain. It's like an electrical system where there's like things bopping around. It's like just things move quicker and faster and more efficient. And so what does that mean? It means like your ability to think, focus, make quick decisions. And so within athletic performance, very popular. Within everyday people, very popular. And so Joe Rogan, all these guys have spoken about it so many times now that it's sort of becoming a staple.
And he doesn't throw away, like he's very articulate and thinks about everything. Obviously, he understands his leverage that he has on people. They didn't just give away these compliments for nothing. Eh?
I know, it was crazy for
us.
Yeah.
So morning, night?
Crazy for mushrooms. It's a funny one, isn't it? Like people like Owen and other athletes have taken it at night if they've suffered sort of concussions or trauma, head injuries, which I did playing Aussie rules as a young kid, like get concussed a couple of times. It's pretty normal in, growing up playing physical sport. So those guys really notice it at night. Other people just have it in the morning. Some have it both. So it's just like with anything that's health related, just try it out for yourself and see what works for you. But yeah, some morning, some night. It doesn't make you sleepy is the key.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you sleepy, just like focuses on your brain.
And I sort of talked about that with the CBD oil. Like I enjoyed it and like the sleep was like probably like it felt good, but then I used to wake up like sort of laggy in the morning. And I was like, oh fuck, I have to get up now.
Yeah.
Like, so I sort of, and then now sort of, you got to be microdosing throughout the day. And I was like, I just want my thing and get on with my day and then sort of roll back. Turkey tail is
like, there's a lot of research on that for gut health, and obviously gut health is an important one for brain health, really. And so really like mood, very important, because our dopamine and serotonin, which is our feel-good hormones, like, you eat some chocolate or you hug a loved one or you're hanging with mates and you're laughing or you're being intimate and having sex with your partner, like they're all things that release dopamine and serotonin, make you feel good. And so
and that stems from the gut?
That stems from the gut as well. And so gut health is very important. We've heard about it for years now, gut health. Drink kombucha for gut health. But it's really important for mood and how your general well-being is. And so that's what turkey tail has been shown to improve and help with. There's a study out of Harvard University around that one. So, yeah, there's a lot of research behind these, and we're not here to say this one does this and this one does that. We just grow the mushrooms in Australia or the US, either of our farms, and we just try and produce the highest quality. And then, gift them to people like yourself, and you try them out, and people like Joe Rogan try them out, and they go, oh, shit, this actually works. Because there's a lot of things out there that it's meant to be good for you, like turmeric as an example. You hear it, but you don't necessarily feel anything from it there and then. Whereas with mushrooms, it's what we've found is very different. It's like you can feel things straight away. But with the CBD oil, what you have is you have many, many brands out there. You go to US, there's CBD and everything. There's a million brands out there. Who's actually growing the CBD? Who's actually the scientists behind it? Who's actually extracting it? And so there's only really a few brands that know what they're talking about that aren't a marketing brand.
Yeah.
Within the supplement
It's
space.
funny. It's fucking funny you said that, because when we obviously like someone see me taking that, they're like, oh, come to this meeting. And like, obviously they're trying to sell their product and rebrand it with our stuff, and they do all the 3PL and stuff like that. And I was going, like, where's this coming from? Like, it was kind of like a little bit weird, very pyramid schemey. But
yeah. And that's where it's going to from a food point of view. If you're putting it in your mouth, you want to know where it came from and who's talking about it and what the quality of it is. And so, and when, there's a wave of popularity, people are like, oh shit, mushrooms is popular. Oh shit, I know social media.
Yeah.
I know some influencer mates. I'm going to buy some off Alibaba, some mushroom powders, and then rebrand them. And so that's what you find. So, that's why we sort of invested deeply into, from a business point of view, how do you stay around for a long time? You need to create something that's amazing. And when I was in the Premier League, it's like we'd have people knocking on our door every day, salesmen, hey, buy this bandage, buy this thing. This will help them run fast. This will help them do this. And it's like, just bring me something that's amazing, that works, and then it will sell itself. And so that's sort of our focus, is like we just focus on making the best thing, and then that what happens, like people like Joe Rogan talk about it for free, which is crazy, when he's like 50, 60K US for an ad.
Is that what he charges?
That's,
Shit. That's all right, eh? Shiitake.
Shiitake, this is a beauty mushroom. So what people notice and what the research shows is that, beards will grow much quicker, hair will thicken up. You hear a lot about collagen products and beauty. The other one is elastin, which is another important compound. So elastin helps keep firmness of skin, and so it helps in the anti-aging process. So it's really an anti-aging beauty mushroom.
Crazy. Though, is it chaga? Am I saying that right?
Chaga's the other one, yeah. So chaga.
I heard you talk about that's a pretty interesting mushroom, isn't
mushrooms. It grows in North America. We get our chaga from Alaska, so we've got a foraging team of guys out there that just literally go with a backpack, got these snow boots on, and just walking out there in like knee-deep snow in birch forest. So birch trees we don't have in Australia, don't have in hot climates. They grow in like -10 to -30 degree temperatures. These birch trees, just long white trees. So you're in a field of long white trees, white snow, out there looking for this chaga mushroom, which just literally looks like a rock on the side of a tree. You'd walk past it, you don't know what it looks like. You'd never say it's a mushroom. It's just a clump of brown golden mass. So they're going out there, hacking it down with an axe, putting it in their backpack, collecting 10 kilos if it's a good day, 15 kilos, 20 kilos, and then bringing it back, and then we're getting it sent to our production site, and then from there we're extracting it and getting the compounds out of that mushroom.
Why does it only grow up there?
That's just the climate, yeah. It's just the climate where it likes really cold temperatures. It likes birch trees, and birch trees are very medicinal. So if you think about it, it's like this mushroom is growing over a long period of time, in extremely cold environment, and growing off a birch tree, which is extremely medicinal in its own right. Naturally, it's going to have some components and some compounds that are powerful because it's been able to survive. It's so resilient to the natural environment. And so, 1 gram of chaga is equivalent to 1.3 kilos of blueberries.
Wait, say that again, sorry?
Yeah, 1 gram of chaga.
Yeah, 1 gram, yeah.
Like a tiny little powder amount, once you powderize it, is equivalent to 1.3 kilos of blueberries and antioxidants.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot.
So that's a lot. So that's the power that it has within it. So everyone knows blueberries are good for you, and they go spend $6 and get 100 grams of blueberries.
Yeah,
so
it's expensive habit, bro.
So versus 1 gram of chaga, but it is an expensive mushroom. But so it's just full of amazing medicinal compounds. So
you said you extract the compounds from the mushroom. What does that look like?
It looks like pretty much using different pharmaceutical grade equipment, quite laboratory based, and essentially you're soaking it in water, you're soaking it in ethanol, you're running it through a few different machines. You're under it, some very bright lights, and it's on a petri dish, and you're just sort of like, I guess, extracting that out, getting the compounds out of it, soaking it, and then putting it into a pure form, so purifying it, getting all the other nasties out of it, or not even nasties, but other things that aren't necessary, to get it to an end point in a bottle where it's a liquid extract that's just like 100% pure.
That's really cool. I love the contrast between obviously the science, and then let's move over to sort of the branding and marketing side of it, because you sort of market it in terms of your lifestyle, Byron Bay, all that sort of stuff as well. Let's start with your name, The Cykel. You've spelt it a little bit different. Why?
Just dyslexic.
I know the story, bro. I was trying to roll you with something good here.
No, it's just life cycle. So cycle that's how it's spelled in Scandinavia, in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, those countries, that's how they spell Cykel. And it was sort of just like, the life cycle of the mushroom, in that, again, like the chaga, getting it from nature and just like going through that whole life cycle, that whole story to get to a bottle, and telling people that whole story so they get the whole picture of it. Because it's like, where are my avocados growing? Where are my oranges growing? Like, what's the story behind that? And so within life cycle, I guess it's thinking about that whole story, and it brings purity to the story, and it brings transparency. And I think that's what the new world of, I guess, transparency and what consumers want. The consumer wants to know the story behind it.
That's so important.
And for it to be real and not to be some greenwash. And I think that's also going to take us to a place where products are better quality.
So you talked about that sort of lifestyle that they live over there. Why is that lifestyle so much better than what we have here? Sorry,
so life cycle. So it was really from the point of view of looking around the world and looking at examples. And I think from an Australian point of view, you're always looking at US and England and what are they up to? But like, there's other countries out there doing awesome, inspiring work, and one of those was Sweden and Scandinavia. And so in terms of that sustainability piece and environmental point of view, I guess, they're doing a lot of great things with waste management and recycling and just living, harmoniously with the planet and not destroying the planet while building a capitalistic business.
Yeah,
and so you're just trying to balance those two things and keeping them in harmony, which is also, of course, important for many reasons, for your own morality and ethics, but for the the business to go well, people want to know the story and know that you have that in mind. And so we were growing off coffee waste, and we grow our mushrooms off coffee waste, which coffee waste meaning the coffee beans. So you get a coffee like we did this morning, and then 99% of that bean ends up as ground, and that ground gets put in the bin, and that then goes to landfill, and that's just another waste product, which that actually is not a waste product. That can be used to grow mushrooms. So we were collecting it from coffee shops. We were just literally, you know, when we first started going around to individual coffee shops, hey, can we have your coffee ground? They're like, what the hell? What do you want your coffee ground for? You know, like, we're going to grow mushrooms, and like, geez, these guys are tripping. Like,
yeah, your little Byron hipsters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Fremantle is another sort of hipster zone.
Oh, is
it's
it?
another little hipster zone in WA. It's got a little Byron sort of Brunswick zone about it. You know, it's got a good vibe and good culture, and so there's a lot of environmental people there as well. So they're sort of like, oh yeah, cool, take that, and that's how we started growing our mushrooms off coffee waste, because we didn't have to pay for the coffee waste. So we're getting a free waste product to grow our mushrooms. So it was great for building the business. And so that's sort of where we started. And then ABC News did the story, and we got, you know, a few million views, and it started to take off. And so, yeah, that's where Life Cykel came from.
That's cool, bro. Cool story. Maybe ever thought about doing a vlog following the boys going to grab the mushrooms up in Canada? Have you done that?
We've done a few little bits of content for sure. Yeah. I'm keen to get to Alaska as soon as we can.
That'd be cool,
to go forage with those guys and just get out there. But we've been up to different parts of Canada. We've been on Vancouver Island, which is like you catch a sort of a ferry from Vancouver to Vancouver Island, and it's just like beautiful, you know, big, huge pine trees. You got deers and squirrels, and it's just full with nature. It's a little wonderland there, and there's plenty of snow. So, yeah, that's another great place to find mushrooms.
I can just see the content already. Obviously, follow you guys, just Matt Laycock's flying out the planes and stuff. You know what I mean? It's going to be cool. So, what's the end goal for Life Cykel?
What's the end? I mean, it's just as long as you're having fun and you're creating value, and you know, that's obviously important. I think, you know, where will we head to in the future? US market's really important for us now, and that's where we're focusing.
Why US? It's just the big fish, or what?
It's always like, you know, there's a bit of that attached to it. It's also just like people in America get the mushroom story a lot, and it's very, you know, much going there, and they're always into health, and it's just a huge market, and it's an interesting space to be, because I guess they're so forward thinking in their health products as well.
Do you think like we don't really, like, everyone's naive here in Australia a little bit when it comes to new things? They think like, oh, that's going to hurt me, where you find Americans a bit more on the forefront?
They're more, for sure, more innovative in that sense. It's part of their culture. They have a very much entrepreneurial culture, and it's like, yeah, oh, you want to, you know, go big, or you want to do something, like they embrace that and they want that for you, which is a nice attitude. It's like, yeah, let's do a deal. Let's work together. Like, how do we help each other? Like, that's nice energy.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying, because you go to America, talk to someone, they're like, how can I help you build that?
Yeah. That's like, and just like, especially when we're in New York, and it's just like that New York voice, and it's like, let's do it. Let's go. Like, you know, very aggressive.
Yeah.
It's very, whereas from Australia, it's like, especially coming from Byron Bay, I need to sort of like just change my whole, like, I'm just chilled out. They just think, are you bored right now? Like, I'm just like, because it's so aggressive, but it's fun. And I just think it's just, to be honest, more people in the world need to be taking mushrooms, taking these functional mushrooms for their own journey, their own benefits. And it's, you know, collectively a part of our evolution is connecting back to nature and connecting back to the power of nature and the health benefits of nature. And part of that is mushrooms. And hand on heart, we just believe we're making, you know, a very pure, potent, bioavailable product. And so we're getting good traction in the US. It's fun working with people in the US. And so, yeah, that's a huge part of the market. But Asia will also start to evolve. I guess it takes place with whenever something comes out, it comes out in, you know, there's pockets where it becomes popular. One of those pockets is LA or New York, and Byron Bay to an extent is becoming that as well, but still held back by that Australian, you know, mentality of, you know, adopting new things and embracing new things, and also just where it's up to from a regulatory point of view as well, and just like, you know, not as advanced or forward thinking, I guess, as parts of North America where things are like, you know, leading ahead. So each want to be at the cusp of it. It's fun and it's interesting for entrepreneurs.
Aussies, just making beers, doing lines, saying, no, I'm not trying to.
In saying that, I mean, there's a lot of Aussies out there just doing amazing stuff in different industries, like just dominating US, I feel there is an advantage when you come from Australia and you go to the US, in the sense of like just the attitude you have, the humbleness you have, the ability to want to work hard and all those things. So that's all advantages. So, you know, more Australian businesses will definitely go into US and do well. So
one last question from an entrepreneurial standpoint: what's Ben Francis like? And do you want to explain who he is? Obviously, people wouldn't know who he is, but we do.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good entrepreneurial story, in the sense of like, I didn't have a meeting with him. I was in the area, and I went to meet with my mate at Aston Villa, because he used to work at Wolves with me in the Premier League. Now he works at Aston Villa, so I was just going to hang out with him, see him, talk mushrooms with him, talk with the boys at the football club there. And Gymshark headquarters is, 40 minutes down the road. I'm like, well, I'm all the way from Australia on a fucking 15-hour flight. I'm going to try and catch him. And so I just rocked up there one morning, just door knock. I got some mushrooms for Ben.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much like, you're not coming in. And then he walks up the stairs. So I'm just like, hey, Ben, and then just catch him. And he comes down and we have a chat and we have a meeting. So it was just pure luck, pure bliss. And he was a great guy. And we're just like jamming it out, talking.
What did you talk about?
Just talking business, talking entrepreneurship, a little bit about his journey, and just like very impressive guy. Very impressive guy from like the level of focus in terms, because when you're in just ideas and business ideas and people want to do collaborations and things coming from every direction. This was just before he announced his, I think, $1 billion valuation.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, especially in apparel, man. That's fucking crazy.
Crazy growth that they experienced. But he'd been on that journey for 15 years or 10 years, building different businesses, and obviously strategically he's bringing on an amazing team. And then I had a meeting with his team who had his product development team, and he's got people, ex-Adidas people, ex-Nike people. So
you can make a T-shirt in like an hour or something. So he could have a design, get the tech back up, and he throws it into this like tube machine and it just pops out like a T-shirt. Saves you like 3 or 4 weeks there. So speed to market's crazy.
Very innovative, very just clear, very clear and focused and militant, I guess, which is the other part of like running a business. It's like, you got to look after X amount of staff. You got to make sure you get the most out of everyone. You got to make sure everyone's in flow. Everyone's loving what they're doing. The culture's got to be like that. But at the same time, you got to crack the whip sometimes to get shit done and move things faster. And you got to see things that other people aren't seeing. And he's just been able to do that, like from an A-class point of view. So
and it's just speed too. I think that's the impressive thing, like how quick it's actually blowing up.
Which is a huge competitive advantage when you're running up against Adidas and Nikes. You got to like come from behind without them even seeing him, just pop up. And then now they're a genuine threat to those companies, and those companies are looking at him like, because I don't know if I can mention it, but like they're going into shoes and they're going into different markets, like, which is the shoe market is like the holy grail for Adidas and Nike, and they're heading into that. So like, it was great to mind jam, and it's great to mind jam with you and other entrepreneurs, because it's like talking a different language. And so it's like, finally we can just talk, talking about those kind of things and those war stories.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was amazing to meet him and meet other guys like that.
Obviously, one more, Kieran Ray. What's he like?
He's another beast as well, in a good way, in the sense of like just very focused. Those guys just do so much self-development. They're reading a lot. They're listening to different podcasts. They're just always learning. They're very good users of time in terms of like getting the most out of themselves, and they're deeply embedded into routine and rituals in the morning. Whether it's like whatever their ritual is, like fasting or meditating or journaling or just having 10 minutes, 15 minutes to themselves to visualize their day. It's those processes which, like, because you become an elite performer in a way, because the stress is very high, you got to perform, there's competition everywhere. Like, it's not that much different to sport, except it's 7 days a week and you don't get a rest day so much.
Yeah, I watched, like, obviously I've done Nail and Scale It, and like his 3 days, and he was doing, like, they were 12-hour days, and he was fronting the camera or stage like the whole time, and his energy didn't drop like once. And like, you look at sport, you're on for 80 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever it is. Like, I remember I used to be tired just from listening, and I was like, fuck, you must have some energy.
I think that you would find it as well. You're doing what you love and what you're passionate about, and without being too cliche, like, you're just running off a different energy source.
Yeah. When
you align with that, so when you find that sweet spot. So when I was in the Premier League, I'm like, it's good, it's okay, I love it, but like, I'm not like just waking up in the morning like, let's go, let's get it, like, thinking about it all the time. And so whenever you're thinking about and obsessing about it all the time, that's going to be like where you need to hang out. And if you can't monetize that yet, you will find a way to monetize it so you can actually turn it into a job. But first lead with that and just create value and just become the best at whatever it is. And so 5 years ago, we're like, we're just going to be, the best in mushrooms. That's just our focus, is just to be the best in that space.
So we've talked about elite performers. You're probably moving towards that sort of space now in a very different style. What does your mornings look like?
Yeah, for me, it's sort of, very lucky. We just got a sauna at home, got an ice bath at home. So like, just, going into those zones.
Every day?
Every day. Every day, absolutely. Like, it's just, and a routine. And sunrise as well, try and watch sunrise and be up around sunrise time. So I think there's like magic in that sunrise moment where it's just like everything's quiet and you can just have your own thoughts. So just doing that in the morning, a little bit of journaling or planning out the day the night before, visualizing that, and just coming with positivity and some self-belief in terms of like, today's going to be good, we're going to do this, and just being excited for the day. But those rituals keep you on track. And even obviously some days you wake up late, or you're up late working, or whatever you're doing, just still sticking to that.
Yeah.
It gives you a coordinates versus like, you know, last couple of years traveling a lot as well and being in and out of like different cities and flying from London to LA, whatever, and just having different time zones. Like it's hard to keep that. And that's okay in a short term, but getting back to that basis of like flow in terms of your rituals and whatever it is for you, yoga, meditation, you know, coffee just by yourself, thinking, like whatever it is, those things day after day after day, just chipping away, you get into that routine and you start to get into a flow where you can feel centered and grounded and just focus, because there's so many distractions.
That's important. As soon as you get on your phone, you see you later.
As soon as you're on that scroll.
All right, my friend, I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge about mushrooms, experiences in life, entrepreneurship. I wish you nothing but health, happiness, and success. So thanks for jumping on.
Same to you, bro. Same.